listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Rough roads ahead. I'm using a little rig that's quieter and less power than the other one I was using, and this should see me. Oh, I got to keep my screen open. Going to sleep on me. There we go. Always on. The screen was going to sleep on me. I got to put always on. Android is such a pain in the derriere sometimes. So is iPhone. They all do that crazy limited stuff, which you don't have to worry about in Windows. Wish they had Windows in a smaller form factor. Maybe that'll work. Whoa. So it doesn't have to be a mass shooting, because of course I wasn't around any mass shootings, but I was around other situations. So it also includes shoplifting, it includes prostitution, it includes drug use, alcoholism. They think they're rulers. This is what's going on in our communities, and they're actually devils. So again, as I spoke in the beginning, and I don't have a lot of energy left on this phone, so it's going to be kind of short. However, when I began speaking, I spoke to you about people inside believing they're rulers. That's how they were able to cause my mother to do things to me. Because in her life, she had opportunities to be a ruler. And it plays on your emotions, but it's Satan. Again, I spoke about how Bob went overseas. They made him believe a lie, and he ended up there, and he ended up, of course, death. So they feel very beautiful in harming their neighbor. And they just keep doing that for whatever entity. And like I said, the drug dealers and the police that do that are one with Satan. And believe me, there's black people they manipulate every day to do something to a white person, and to do something to a black person, to do something to a Latino person. And a lot of times it's to make them believe that they're either a white supremacist or they're not strong enough. For some black people believe that if you're not a militant black person, that you're not strong enough. So you see how that works into the white supremacist hands. And again, I didn't even know where I was going with that statement. It's coming from God. You really can't do my voice pattern thing because you've traumatized me so much, and a lot of it comes from God. So I start and stop as I'm listening, and sometimes just receiving, not listening. Because I thought I messed up what I was saying. I'm like, wait, this doesn't make sense. What am I saying? Because I meant to say what I said in that post, and I can hear from the Father now. He says, "This is how I show you it's me, not you." And of course, I've said it's not me. Like Satan tried to make me feel bad at the end of that sentence by saying, "See, it's not you." Like, what? I said it's not me. And that had an emotion attached to it. So you see, they get a Black Lives Matter type of person, a white supremacist will hire black people like that to make other black people radicalize and they'll be angry at black people that aren't radicalized. So if you're black, they'll bring, and it's an officer, they'll bring a black officer, which, you know, as far as real work, that's something you might have to do, or people of color. But the white supremacist is actually killing the white person that's not a white supremacist. That's the basis for a lot of activity. Don't let them tell you they're doing real work all day. What I believe happened, you know, the Marshal Service is this wonderful entity of rescuing missing children. From what I know, they're part of the missing children. They do people's heads over. They deny them regular employment and regular life, so they'll be into sex trafficking, into abducting children. And then they come along as the heroes. So they spend half their time creating sex criminals and the other half the time, theoretically, and I'm not saying they spend half the time rescuing children, they may only do it 1/10 of the time. 9/10 might be spent on creating sex criminals and then taking money from other sex criminals so they won't be arrested or found. It's that scammy because you have to create the other thing. Again, politics does that well also, but again, it's not politics, it's criminal enterprise. They make you focus somewhere else and believe it's something else. Those dogs keep barking at me. They're trying to move my emotions in several directions, and it's not going anywhere. I have no desire to have to do anything any longer. I'm not trying to be part of society because there's no sense in it because you're not allowing it, all of you. All you're doing is creating a trigger for me to move in the directions that you're trying to push me so that you can say something in 5 years about me. So again, we're just trying to make them not speak about this. That's the first step. Again, hypnotizing the person into some sort of crime, drug addiction, sex addiction, etc. Oh, they want me out there oral sex all day because why? There's diseases that'll kill me. That's the quickest way to die. And they did it to George Michael. That was a spycraft operation. Don't know who did it, but they did it. Because the key is to wire the person, you have to harm them and traumatize them until they do what you want. And they begin by saying something simple. Don't buy this car, buy that car. And they can do that with subliminal messaging. Then once you buy the car they want, it's got him. Or got her. Then the next thing is, don't live there, live over there. Don't be friends with that person, be friends with that person. Next thing you know, you're in the middle of a narcotics-fueled orgy. And Matt Slapp pays them $10 million because they saved his life because you're suing him for touching your cock. And that may be offending you, but that's who our politicians are. And our law enforcement. That's really what's happening. That's really what's up. So what do they care? Because what happens whenever anything goes bad, their system of private investigators, government officials will go out there and say, it's not us. It's political this or political that. And that's why the world's falling apart. The world's falling apart because people in government and in the private sector are part of investigations, are actually running a scam and a racket and taking money from real criminals while making fake criminals all day using psychological torture. Hypnotism occurs when they torture you and then stop. And then, like, if I were to go in a different direction right now and do something different, at a certain point, they might introduce somebody to make me feel good about my life and about myself. Sometimes they'll work at Walmart. Sometimes they'll work at Ross. Sometimes they'll work at TJ Maxx. And then they'll pull that away. Now I have to do the next thing. And guess who they did that to? The people on 8chan. They don't feel okay till they go to HN. And then after that, they won't feel okay till they take out a Walmart or some other school or whatever it is. Now, Walmart's obviously starting it up again. After I spoke about it last time, I think they backed off a little because they took out and I don't have to speak about it. They know it's happening. They know they're harassing people of color. They know they're harassing whatever the target person is. And the target person goes, oh, yeah, like in a target of investigation, right, bud? We big. No, you're very small. Law enforcement is about the lowest thing on earth, lower than worm dirt, because you're responsible to make sure this shit isn't happening. And you're doing it and backing it and getting rich off of it. I'm not going to up a darn political party. And you go, ha ha ha, gotcha. Oh, well. I'm not the one going to hell. All of you are. Oh, yeah, right. That was God help me remember the other thing. So, again, to me, Duterte, I get a little worried about him going to heaven. I said, well, Duterte kills all those drug dealers and all that stuff. And I'm like, and then it can't, but Duterte then said to me, in the mind, I haven't heard from him in years. He used to be the president of Philippines. His daughter might be the president or somewhere close. He used to be a mayor he used to be a mayor of the city that I wanted to go to in the Philippines to live. And they blocked me because I got my call to go see Duterte, and he'd take an interest in what I say. Again, he doesn't have the knowledge he needs, and it would have been additional knowledge, and I'm sure he'd be interested in some of it. And then we wouldn't have had the problems we had with him. And again, here's where I go again. There's no problem with Duterte. Because once we got into that discussion, God got in the middle and said, God got in the middle because Duterte already told me, I may have left this out, that I'm going to heaven. God told me the same thing. I have nothing to worry about. Because I guess he got thinking on it, and God said, don't worry. You're coming back home 5 different ways. Again, that's the type of thing. And I'm thinking, well, how is that true for Duterte? And I wasn't judgmental, but I know that some murdering took place. Extrajudicial murder, which is pretty evil, right? Because you're all engaged in it with spycraft and all of that. So it's pretty evil. But God said, you never made it to the Philippines to tell Duterte what I needed you to tell him. Those extrajudicial murders are in the accounts of the people that stopped you from going to the Philippines to speak to Duterte, and then he wouldn't have killed the narcotics distributors. He would have ran a program similar to what you would have helped them understand. So Dutarte's not going to hell, but all those CIA, FBI, DHS, local police, state police that blocked me from the Philippines, and anybody that's in the Philippines, I heard there's people in the Philippines, spies and stuff that cooperated, government people, and they said, and some people said that aren't part of it again. They said if Duterte found out what they did to you, he would kill them. They said, and that's how serious this is. This is why they don't never let it stop. If Rodrigo Duterte found out what the Filipino people working with the CIA and the FBI and the DHS and the state police and local police did to me to sexualize and block me from marriage and from living in the Philippines, he would kill them. Now, that one may actually be his fault. That might end up in his, if he did that, that might actually end up in his thing, his account. But I guess not. I mean, I would have to have delivered what God wanted me to deliver. Believe me, if I went to, what was the city? I can't even remember. It's a 911 city. He was genius. I mean, they started that 911 and everything. What was that place called? Mindanao, I guess. Mindanao, is that the state? That's not the city, that's the state, I think. But I was going to go live in Mindanao. And of course, he'd have taken notice. Somebody would have told him. And then he would have protected me. I think he has some of my information. Maybe it's just inside. I don't know. But God has already told Duterte theoretically that he has nothing to worry about. Because that's how it started. Duterte comes up with mine and says, God said the same thing to me. He said, I don't have to worry about it. I'll be going home to heaven, whether I made mistakes or not. So, and I was like, what? And then then the thing came up where they didn't let me go. It came up like this: if you could have got to the Philippines, Duterte would have protected you because he would have known you're real and you're really trying to help people. And so, you're not going to fool Duterte with me being there. And he would have ended up probably, they probably saw it too. He'd probably end up speaking to me a little bit, and who knows what it would have been. But again, all I was doing was offering advice. So again, that was important. Stretching my legs here a little bit. It's much quieter with this headset on, or this micro. Actually, I'm using a microphone and an interface and a headset. I mean, it's the whole system. But I drank a late cup of coffee, so I had to walk. And I got to get up in the morning and finish my room. I got to get over and do my registration. I got to get to the state troopers. I might have to go break the cardinal sin and go on a Friday or something. I don't know how busy they are. It may not be that busy. I just have to look at the VIN number, I guess. And then I'll be free to get it registered. Whether I stay or go, I'll be here for at least a couple more months. I still have to do my work and cursing off the evil here. And that has to take before I move along. So I don't think I'm going to leave tomorrow. It's going to be at least 2 months. When we get your little jollies that you're going to get your $100,000 bonus early or something. No, it's a spiritual war. I don't play games, all of you. I'll curse your city and your people to hell. And again, your people aren't the people. You're all devils, demons, antichrist, witches, and sorcerers. That's who I'm speaking about. No, the open window for repentance for the earth people like that is over, as far as I know. Now, other beings from other places might come and ask me questions, and I'll give them answers based upon what God gives me. That's a nice truck. That thing's lit up like a Christmas tree. Oh, great. I used to love that, driving on the road and see the lit up trucks. In the name of Jesus. Heal that family there. Got 29% left on my phone. I guess I will get a little bit of walk in. All right, there it is again. Oh, but it's not. But I saw it. I don't know. I think it was 19. Oh, okay, I did because it was the seconds, right? Okay, it was 19. It was 911. It's white, and it's white. So it's 1911 white. I don't know. It could be that you fixed it, whatever it is. Or you found it, maybe. Doesn't mean it has to happen. Again, you can heal it. You find the crooks planning something. See, that's why there was once upon a time there wasn't so much crime, because the officers would heal the people. They'd rather heal them and not have it go anywhere. That's, I mean, I have no present knowledge of that, but again, I'm what they call a hierophant, I guess. And I know it's on a tarot card, but it's that's the place where they put it, where we would see it. It exists in the dictionary away from the tarot card. It's somebody, it's a mystical person that knows ancient things, just knows them. Again, that's biblical and that's prophecy and knowledge, quote unquote knowledge. Knowledge is also part of the gifts. So again, Jesus had his part in things, and we all have part in things. Jesus tried to hit home how greater work shall you do, but you all were like stupid with it because you don't want to let people know how it works. You're trying to hide every bit of truth while saying everybody else's untruth. So again, greater work shall you do, grow in knowledge and love. Again, you all made it apparent that no amount of what we consider traditional love will stop you from the evil that you're engaged in. So therefore, we started the spiritual battle up. But the part where we attack you directly, well, no, we attack the thing that comes against us. And that's what spiritual invocations, curses, etc. But that goes through the Father, and the Father makes the decision. So again, you have to remember, Paul begins the movement of love. And how many ages did we go through that until in my life God said, that's it. So again, you had your chances. And I surmise some of you are reincarnated on this planet. I believe that's the kind of demonic planet this is, where devils are reincarnated here and they pick up their life where they left off. Like Trump moving into a billionaire family or multimillionaire family. I don't know what it was back then. But again, you look at Trump's life. It's not normal. His income is guaranteed. Like him, the sob story of him, well, that homeless man's richer than I am. If he was richer than you were, then you wouldn't be where you are today. Plain and simple. He was given based upon doing whatever it is he was doing for people. He was never officially bankrupt. There's no way to come back from that like that unless you have things and have people that'll support you with that. So the guy on the sidewalk's lucky he's not Trump. I mean, come on. Ivanka talks about the homeless guy on the sidewalk. How he's in better shape than Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump's in debt. It's monopoly money. It's not even real. Same thing with Musk. Musk's life is monopoly money. It's not even real. They just give them when they want them to do something. They do it, and then they give them. But then again, they solve the nation. They don't care. They're wealthy. They got more money than they'll ever need in their life. At the pinnacle, they sold it to Satan. But at least he didn't join a church and say he was, God's representative on earth through this ministry. The biggest scam on earth is these nonprofits. I brought it up before. There's nothing nonprofit about the profit except you don't have to put any money into the corporation. It runs flat. There's no stockholders. There's nobody to pay but yourself and your cronies. It's the biggest scam going. They make it sound like, oh, it's a nonprofit. Oh. It's the biggest scam going, man. You pay yourselves, and that's it. Oh, sure, I'd spend $100,000 on charity if I made a million, but they're oh. Samaritan's purse. No, that's that's their purse. There ain't no Samaritan owning that purse. Oh. The grabs. I hope this kid's all right. I think he's homeless, maybe. No, I don't have a place for him here. Some young guy here. Hey, it looks like he's semi-homeless or homeless. But he's black. He probably steal your blind. Some black people inside told me they hear it. They hear it too. They wondered if it's just because they're black that they hear it, but no, I hear it. Actually, they hear you saying it. And Satan will make a black person that will rob you blind. if you can't power past it. You go, oh, see it happen. Meanwhile, a white person would have killed you while robbing you blind. But they diminishing the black people pretty bad. They get that psychological thing going. It's been going for decades. And of course they curse them. Well, I have more power in this thing than I thought. Still on 25%. This little dongle doesn't use that much. It's a big dongle actually, but it's great. It's got monitoring. And you can put the volume up and down on the monitoring, and the microphone up and down volume, and then you can have you can listen to you can make the computer or the device louder, or your microphone louder. And then if you're in the games, that's when it really turns on. It has all these options. You can hear footsteps or, all this other kind of. I don't think it's DirectX. It's called something else, or maybe it is DirectX. I don't know. It's some sort of gaming options, and like the gunfire sounds realer. It has a massive EQ. Like the listening part of this is better than the speaking part, which is really a suck because this is a great device. If they actually had put like a little bit of a compressor, a noise gate, a little bit of EQ, it would have been great. Great. The size of this, what's it, the G3? Sound Blaster G3. I have two of them. They're amazing. They're so light and they actually do so much. Because you might have something where you plug in a headphone and a microphone that's USB-C or USB-A or USB-C-A. Wait, USB-A. Wait, your USB. Something's trying to send me a message in the middle of this. I'll have to figure it out later. But let me think here. But it doesn't have the control this has over the sound, like the microphone up and down, and then the monitoring up and down. It's like amazingly controllable. So what they're doing is trying to trigger trauma, and that's what they're doing to those mass shooters until they become mass shooters. They psychologically traumatize them, and again, some of the incel is natural. but they are what the government wanted was something to counter what I was saying about them isolating me and make me afraid to speak about it, and people to make once I spoke about it, they were afraid everybody would start speaking about being isolated. So they made something violent like the incel movement, and the incel movement is false. Somebody could have been a private investigator or a criminal spy that just thought it up out of nowhere, based upon that idea of cover up, and then of course made them violent. So that anybody that speaks about being forced to be celibate or alone is then an incel or a possible incel. Again, a possible this. Like, Moore's just like that incel guy that shot people because he says the same thing. Meanwhile, other people run around shooting people and not even look at them until it's too late. They are physically isolating people from relationship. That's what happened to me. And they want you to see it everywhere, and sometimes you do see it where it's not. But I'm gonna essentially an enemy of the United States prisoner of war camp. That's my life and what it's been. That's what it really is. This is not any joke. This is at spy level. Again, it's worse than extreme rendition because it's your own country while you're trying to live your life on just a normal basis. But that's the psychos that are running it. I've been under a type of extreme rendition for at least 25 years. Now, I'm not saying they weren't there before that. And I imagine it's because I wouldn't commit the crime. They got to a point where they wanted me to break the law, and I wouldn't do it. I maybe the loss of what quote unquote morality you would say I was immoral in certain ways, but again, it's not at all that. I was tortured into it. So again, where we would find a need to heal something and take care of people, they're moving in the other direction to harm people and unprotect them. And then they call it good because why? Well, it keeps society safe. We're keeping the bad people out. Oh, a bad person got in. That's why we did that against that guy, so he wouldn't get in. But what they're actually doing is creating the bad people and creating the focus of attack. What is a hand truck doing over here? Is that hers? It's a hand truck out here in the middle of the park, middle of the night. If that woman didn't have 3 dogs, I'd probably try to help her somehow, maybe be a roommate or something, because she knows the area and all that. But yeah, I 3 dogs. I myself, I mean, thank God that I got the spirit's voice. Said no more dogs until you get into a safe life, because it makes it more difficult. Right. I wouldn't be. I mean, I got enough. I mean, if I was healthy, I wouldn't care. I'd figure it out. But I'm not. So, and thanks to the government and their criminal cronies, all they do is let me seek my own life. And that was just simply a wife, the church, and again, massage therapy and that type of thing as I needed it. And it was in that order. I was going to seek, well, I was going to go to the church, get married, again. And again, my first marriage, God says you weren't even awake. And that woman, I hate to speak poor of her, but I'm not going to let them get away with what they say. She cheated on me very, very swiftly. And again, God had her say something to me about a neighbor's wife. And I wish he wouldn't have done it, but I guess God wanted me to know that she, uh, essentially the neighbor's wife, essentially the neighbor's wife, he might be working for somebody now, I'm thinking. The homeless dude might be working for somebody. but I'm not sure. It could just be Satan moving around. But she told me something about the neighbor's wife was accusing us of having, and it happened twice that I know about for sure. And I mean, I'm just not a person, or I wasn't at least, and that's not why I laughed. I laughed because she was killing me. They were manipulating her emotions, and she was killing me. See, that's what spies do. They break up marriages. They're home wreckers. Cops also. And if they can have sex with one of them, sometimes they want it. That's the completion, the orgasm on their what they consider their opponent's spouse or something like that. This is how evil the world really is. Don't fall for their churchiness, because if you listen to how I speak about the scriptures, you realize they don't know a thing. God, that's the first thing God told me. One of the first things God told me when He became real, not just kind of God in the sky. He said, they don't know a thing. Don't listen to them. Do what I tell you. He was like General God. God wakes me up, and now I can, I know God's before me, and I'm before God. And God says, don't listen to them. Do what I tell you, and we'll bring a few people home with us. Because God's here now. God's here. Just like when Enoch was here. And God said, just don't worry about it. God said, you're coming home 5 different ways, 10 different ways. Don't worry about it. Because God needed me to work right away because there were going to be mass terrorism. So God wanted me to go up New Jersey and into Philadelphia and go up New Jersey into Newark and Edison, New Jersey, and then up to New York and heal the people. Simply me driving around singing was healing also. Again, I used to list the forms of healing. I look for one of those tweets or posts, so maybe I'll look tomorrow, so I can maybe put it in that format again, or make it as a additional tweet or post on the healer alerts. Dancing, singing, invoking, hand gestures, and then etc. Whatever God tells you to do. If God says icky ickaboo, say icky ickaboo. But God's not going to tell you to grab a gun and harm somebody. That's them, the police. They tell you to do that in your head. But they're only testing you. You're not supposed to do it. That's the biggest scam. That's the biggest part of the scam. That they're just testing people. I think to me, it's just like, and I was never like this. I never hooked up with somebody for sex under false, like, oh, we're just going to go study. I never did that. So I'd have been married. Somebody said I lost track there. Yeah, I'd have just went to the church, found somebody to marry that was equally yoked. And yeah, she could have been 25, she could have been 30, she could have been 35. After all, you're all running after 21-year-olds when I was in the government at the bars having sex with them when you're 45 or older. That's what bothered them the most. He's not like us. He must be a rapist. Must be. That's the kind of people they are. So what they do is they scum my ability to get to the relationship and the marriage by stalking me day in and day out, physically. And then say there's something wrong with me. But I would have got to the church, I'd have found somebody, and they knew it. Would have gotten married, life would have went normal, and then I would have started the ministry. I mean, the real ministry. I don't know if he's working for somebody, but he's just pushing on a door. I can't let it go. Oh, oh. Yeah, there's somebody walking around out here, and he just was pushing on one of the room doors. He's wearing a hoodie. Yeah, that's what it looked like. Yeah, all right. That doesn't look too cool. That wasn't too cool. Yeah, she said, I just had the popo come around. Yeah. Ma'am, I'm not sure, but the guy in the hoodie, I think he was pushing on one of the room doors. He was up there on I don't think he stays here. I'm not sure, but he was up there first, and then he was in the back. I didn't care that he was hanging out. I figured he was homeless maybe or something.
Was it the orange hoodie guy?
Yeah, he's got a hoodie.
Okay.
And then I saw him just when I came around this corner. He seemed like he was pushing on a room door.
Okay. I'll drive around and see if I see him, and if I
Yeah,
see him,
here he is. He's over here now. I don't know what he's doing. I guess I'm thinking he's homeless. That's what I think.
okay.
All right.
He's over there. You said.
He's right here. He's just in the field. You can't see him because of the car. He's
Okay.
all right.
Cool. I'll drive around and then I can check on him for you.
Yeah, I don't. No big deal. I just I don't want him to get into somebody's room and then that can get worse than just a break in.
Yeah.
You know.
I
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I can't let somebody get themselves into trouble like that. Because if he goes into a room, somebody could have a gun, shoot him. He could, hit some lady. We got some elderly people here. I mean, I feel bad because he's homeless, but again, you didn't let me start my ministry. Am I on right? Is the volume up? Yeah, there. So that's pretty sad. I mean, I know it's kind of like a criminal thing that he's doing, but he's pushed to it again. My example. Hi, how are you?
How are you doing?
So she's trying to find him. He's probably homeless, so he knows the deal. Right. He's out running. Hey, make sure. Hey, no, he just went in. Guy out here. I just want to let him know somebody was running around. Right. No, I just want to tell her, look, I don't want you to beat the guy up for being homeless. But is it a point now where, when you have an interaction between two people in a room, anything could happen? Right. I got indigestion. But yeah, we got married and, I would eventually started the real ministry. Again, my information could have included the church as it is if it would have came along instead of causing itself to be left behind. Because at my first part, God only showed me enough to wake the church up. But when it was apparent that the church was accepting the mark of the beast whenever the beast called through the partner program, private eye, whatever it was, it was apparent there was no way to break them free of the beast. Again, I'm living a life that I explained to you before. But again, they're cutting it short and diminishing it. I told you, was it John Hagee? I always say Chuck Hagee. John Hagee had a show when I was first waking up, and I tried to find it, I couldn't find it. It had a guillotine, and they were cutting people's heads off. Now I seen it as figurative, not literal, but they were cutting people's spiritual head off, so they could not see, could not believe, could not understand. But in it is this man of the end times, where he goes, and no, this isn't a fantasy, where he goes around trying to help them. Now, at that point, it had broken down, like society had broken down in their representation. And again, it has. Again, figuratively, metaphysically, psychologically, society is broken down, and you can't say, "Oh, the police know what you're talking about," because some of the police are causing it. And then you may be a police officer just doing your job, but yet you're part of something that's destroying people, destroying wellness, destroying health, destroying psychological balance. So again, it's very important that we understand people's psychology, and also there's a metaphysic which you can't see that can affect the psychology of people. So if people are physically or psychologically harmed, they can also be metaphysically harmed, which causes the ability to be harmed psychologically and physically. Again, people are not being protected. Robin Gritz said that. Again, absent of politics, she was not protected. She was unprotected. I had the same thing happen to me, but she was awake a little bit more, I believe, and I was asleep. That's how they were able to get more way over me. Like once I woke up, I got it. I said, "Oh, everybody left the office because they had to, because these people are devils." I didn't know anything. I'm actually a very amazing person. I mean, I don't say that of myself, but God wants me to say these things. I became a sapper leader totally asleep, unaware. Oh. I became a deputy U.S. Marshal, unaware, asleep. Correctional officer. Most people don't even get married that much when they're asleep. But again, I was able to get to another country, and that's why it happened. And they knew it. That's why they blocked me from getting to another country. Again, remember, these are spies, and they're manipulative. But yet, if you push past the manipulation, it'll just kill you at a certain point. Well, she found him. My battery's getting low.